us three on this podcast, us four, including our producer, can agree that, when you are owning business, sometimes it can be all consuming all of the time. So if you were able to take a step back and look at and spend time in your personal life doing something that you love outside of your business, then that's a win too. And so as we're wrapping up this year, if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, maybe it's I want to get a massage once a month, whatever that looks like. I think that we should do a better job as entrepreneurs, business owners, talking about that and promoting. Like, it doesn't have to be 100% about the business all of the time. Let's take a look at the business. Let's take a look at our lives. Because we're not here just living to work, right?
Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I'm your host, Stacey J. Dempsey, and like always, thankfully, back in action. She's back and ready to rock out with us. We have the one and only dad and the one and only other sister daughter on this podcast, J. Faith. Good morning, good afternoon to the both of you.
Morning.
Hello.
So Jen is back with us from maternity leave. She is just diving back into all things, while also she giggles because she's like, I don't know if I'm diving in or being pushed in. So, but we are super excited to have Jen back with us, and back from maternity leave. But does maternity leave ever really stop? I don't know. My kid's 9, and I feel like I'm still in newborn trenches. It's just 9-year-old trenches. It's just the 9-year-old trenches.
I would disagree with you, but yeah. I mean, listen, the fact is, I think a week after I gave birth to my daughter, I was in the salon running payroll. So, maternity leave ? I don't know what, definitely took some time off. Wasn't doing all the things, but was not unplugged. Let's say that. I was still involved. So
that's right. And maybe we can have an episode on kind of what that looked like, what we kind of, there were many conversations that Jennifer and I had that between the, need to go back, need to do things. And I'm like, it's all copacetic right now.
Yeah.
It's all smooth right now. So anyway, episode for another day, conversation for another day. I want to thank all of our viewers and our listeners for tuning in. We want to wish you guys all a very happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate. Hope that you were able to take some time to do whatever it is that brings you joy during the start of this holiday season. So with that being said, here we are approaching the end of the year and time now to evaluate what 2025 looked like for our business, maybe taking a look at our goals of what we had for 2025, and how's it all shaping up? What worked, what didn't work, what needs to be evaluated, what we need to make sure that we put at the top of the list for priorities for 2026. And also evaluating, like Dad mentioned before we hit record, also evaluating the end of the year. Does your business, is this go time? Is this, strike while the iron is hot? Or is this a slower time of year for you? And what might that mean when evaluating your business? So here we are, 2025, the end of 2025. I think we all now say, gosh, man, the year went by so fast, which it always does. But Dad, what would you say, as people start to really kind of look like, need to evaluate what the goals were for 2025, where things are kind of potential for ending up? Because I know, like, for us, our year for getting things done and production credit and all that really does not end until 5:00 on December 31st. So, and really the numbers don't kind of all add up, or, we don't get final numbers till well in January. So it's go for us. But what would be some things that, we could maybe share with our viewers and our listeners when it's time to evaluate where our business is for this past year?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, hopefully, our listeners, our entrepreneurs find this to be important, in terms of establishing goals, measuring your business, and not just, just going all the time and not really knowing if you're hitting the mark or not, right? So, there's just that true, true saying that, do you spend all your time working in your business, or do you take time to work on your business? This is the working on your business part. And so it's important that, that you do it. Now, as far as, when you do it, I think that's what we were chatting about a little while ago, is that, for some businesses, Jen's a good example, holidays are very, very busy. There's, that's, that's just a busy, busy time. So, you know, saying, okay, I'm going to take time to, do this work on goals and setting. I mean, maybe you can do that and run hard all the way through the holidays, but maybe, maybe it's just something you've got to make sure, this time of year, get your focus on, what needs to be done in the business, and then, get past that. And then early in January, sit down, evaluate and set some goals for the new year. So timing just, but if it's a slower time for your business, maybe now's the time to do that, or over the next few weeks. So making sure you just have your timing down. But the other thing, on looking back or evaluating your year, hopefully you've been doing that along the way, so it's not like, oh, where are we at? We're heading into December. How's our year been? You should kind of already know that if you've been at least looking at, your business on a quarterly basis, so to speak, and evaluating that against, your business goals. So that, if you're doing that properly, that shouldn't be particularly onerous. But again, it's easy not to. It's easy because you get busy and you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm going to, sit down and crunch the numbers and look at everything and see how we're doing. And it just doesn't get done. So, but hopefully you have, and that will be something that you've already kind of have a pretty good idea of where you stand in your business as compared to what your goals were heading into 2025.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, it's kind of that final push to the end of the year. And sometimes it's just nice to look at it that way, like, kind of foot on the gas pedal here, and let's finish the year strong. My hope for a lot of entrepreneurs is that you have some kind of system around the goals that you set for your business. And like Dad was saying, being able to look, maybe each month at, you know, revenue and understanding what you're doing, so it's not a surprise at the end of the month, at the end of the year. I know for us, that's exactly, my approach to, I mean, what are we? 6 weeks left into the year. So it's really just gas pedal to the floor. January is typically a slower month for me. So it's a really great time to reflect on 2025 and then make new goals for the year. But I think, there's so much pressure on business owners to have goals. And I just want to touch on, like, remember when you're looking back on your business and you're looking forward, they don't have to be these like monstrous goals. I know, like, early on in my business, goal setting for me was a lot around money. Like, I want to make, I want to drive, I want to have, I want to do. Um, and so simply sometimes the goal is like, I want to be able to coach my kids' soccer team, so, I just don't want there to be so much pressure. Listen, Dad says it all the time. We're in business to make money. So, don't think I'm not talking about that, because we all want to make money, but it doesn't always have to be what you think business is about. And I see it on social media, and I couldn't agree more. I'm sure you guys see it on social media. It's like, if you, have a business, if you have a job that gives you freedom, you're already winning in life. So maybe it's simply like, I want more freedom. I want to be able to pick my kids up from school. I want to be able to go to the gym every day, whatever that looks like. So if you are looking back on your business and you had a goal that you wanted more freedom and you're feeling like you've accomplished that, then that is something to celebrate with inside of your business, because us three on this podcast, us four, including our producer, can agree that, when you are owning business, sometimes it can be all consuming all of the time. So if you were able to take a step back and look at, and spend time in your personal life doing something that you love outside of your business, then that's a win too. And so as we're wrapping up this year, if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, maybe it's I want to get a massage once a month, whatever that looks like, I think that, we should do a better job as entrepreneurs, business owners, um, talking about that and promoting, like, it doesn't have to be 100% about the business all of the time. Let's take a look at the business. Let's take a look at our lives. Um, because we're not here just living to work, right? We want to be able to enjoy things and make sure that we're pointing that out to you guys to enjoy those things. And so, and I say all of that because, I have an older daughter that's 7. And so I'm kind of thinking about like my first maternity leave and then my second maternity leave. And guys, it was like a huge difference. So to have a goal to say, I can step away from my business and enjoy my maternity leave is a huge win for 2025. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with promotions. It has nothing to do with the bottom line revenue. It's like I got to enjoy my life with my kids. And if I'm not doing anything else, that's what I'm doing all of this for, right? So I hope that is encouraging to say, let's talk more about revenue. It's not just about revenue. Let's talk about more things than just that, as you're reviewing life. And again, I'm saying this I'm almost 10 years in business, and I used to like run 7 days a week, 365. So, again, it's about the systems, it's about growth, and it's about, where you're at in your life. Obviously, things change and you change, and it's good to recognize that as we're kind of looking back on all of this.
One thing, Jennifer's back. She's back. I mean, we were just like, go ahead, Jen. Keep talking your talk, girl. Okay,
Listen,
she's
I
back.
was so nervous to be back on the podcast because I'm like, all I want to talk about is my kids, basically. So I'm not really in work mode still. I'm pulling from the depths here, guys. But I want to like only talk about my baby.
Yeah.
I want to talk all things being a mom, being an entrepreneur. So anyway, I'm digging deep here, but the next podcast we record should really just be about like my kids, so we can just get it out.
Just get it over and done with. No, but you
We
made
can
a
do that.
lot of points that when you talk about, really analyzing how your last year went.
Yeah.
You have the data, everything from revenue to what did I not get to do enough of, or what do I need to do more of? What is going to be more fulfilling for me? Does this next year need to be? I need to really, really grind out so that maybe the following year or halfway through the year I can do other things. In Jennifer's case, there was a point where like I know I'm not going to be at work at a certain point, so I'm going to have to do everything I can in this time frame. But there are a lot of things that being able to take a look back at the past year to say, what do I need to do more of? Do I need to do more of personal development? What does personal development look like for my lifestyle? I know Dad was, just said like, I'm not probably going to crack open a book at the end of the day and really absorb what I'm reading, but I will absorb it as I'm driving, to an appointment, or I'm just in the car going somewhere. Do I need to hire people? Do I need to what are all the things that I need to do that need improvement? And what are some things maybe I need to get rid of that I just don't need, that aren't serving my business any longer? And then being able to say, what do I need to take into 2026? What do I need to leave behind? And then what do those goals really tangibly look like? What are the systems in place to get, what are my systems that need to change, that aren't working?
Well, that's right. I mean, because again, we've talked about that before when it comes to goals, because goals, are just, you know, they're just things on paper if you don't build a system around it to get there. We've talked about, the quote from Atomic Habits. We don't rise to our goals, we fall to our system. So we always want to be reminding, our listeners that, you have to spend time with that, and so when we look at Jennifer, the reason that she enjoyed her maternity and is enjoying it is, I mean, she says it's not about the money, but it's not. But the fact that she has built a system that allowed the business to continue to generate revenue in her absence, is the key, right? Because yes, it's not all about money, but I'm almost certain if during her maternity, you know, business dropped off, you know, 60 or 70%, I mean, it probably wouldn't have been quite as enjoyable. But, the fact that developed your people, build a system, so that, you know, clients were being served, your team, was able to, step up and do what they needed to do. I mean, that's kind of the, really the picture of having built a system or built a culture, that allows that to happen. Because, there's another truth out there that says, culture manages absence of leadership. So, if the leader has to step away, if they've built a good culture, that culture will continue on, and run that business, even though the leader is not there present as they typically are. So, critical, to make sure you're building those systems around your goals.
Yeah. So, ending the year, probably some things to think about is we need to connect with our accountant, um, insurance agents. A really good tip that I learned from Dad a long time ago is especially if you're in a slower season inside of your business, end of year is always a great time to do something that you have not been wanting to do or maybe didn't have the time to do. Um, just to kind of get those last minute expenses in for this tax year. So, meaning like if you wanted to repaint or you wanted to do a project or you wanted to update your business in some kind of way, this would be a great time to do that, to just kind of get that in this calendar year. Maybe you wanted to replace, I don't know, some furniture or something like that. And then just kind of reviewing like, what are you spending money on? So are we happy with like our cleaning people? Do we not have cleaning people? Can we add cleaning people, for example? Um, and kind of just going like down the list of like, what am I spending money on to help run the business? Has it worked? Is it not worked? Am I happy with it? Should we change it in some kind of way? Um, Something that I dread to do is like call Comcast. So guys, if you're in business, you have some kind of internet, right? And if you're hooked up typically for like, you can sign with them for a few years or whatever. We still have to call and negotiate, guys. We still have to call and negotiate these bills. Hopefully you can give that to someone else to do because it makes me want to rip my hair out. But like, our credit card system, like all of those things is a really great time to just check in and look and check that off your list. So that way, when January comes, you're kind of prepared to start the new year in that direction, in the right direction. So again, I hope that you're connecting with your accountant more than just once a year, but just starting to get all your paperwork together and get ready to turn a new page in 2026 fresh for the new year.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And obviously you have, depending on your business, you might have employee evaluations that you have to be thinking about. Maybe that's because you're thinking about pay raises, and maybe that, what you give in a pay raise, is dependent upon performance, so evaluations, can come at this time of year, which, again, depending upon your business can be easy because it may only be a couple people, or it could be very difficult. You have to really think through how to do that. But yeah, there's just a lot to be thinking about this time of year, and that's so those are really good. Like you said, the accountant's the big thing, right? I mean, because like I said, if you want to know where you stand, that way, if there is any particular moves that you need to make, you can do that, before 12/31. So yeah, a lot to think about timing. And again, hopefully, if you're finding that it's a particularly challenging, onerous thing to do, then that just probably means you weren't tracking along the way throughout the year too well, that you're having to go all the way back to January to start thinking through this stuff. And that's where it gets. So if you find yourself in that, let that be your motivation to really do it on a no, I wouldn't do it any less than a quarterly basis. So um so, and build self-development into that whole thing too, because making sure that you're working on yourself. And I think we should have an episode on that coming up, in my opinion, because that is absolutely critical, that you're working on yourself. Jen talked about it in your like with your personal life and time off and that type of thing. But you know uh, things are changing out there rapidly. So, we got to make sure as leaders and business owners and entrepreneurs, that we're staying engaged, and developing ourselves, growing ourselves, um, because I'm full of old sayings, but here's one that we can close with is, we don't become successful. We attract success by who we become. So the more we grow ourselves, the more we will attract success to ourselves and to our business. Um, but if we're just chasing it and running after it and not growing ourselves, it's a much harder journey, much harder than it needs to be. So I'll end it there.
This is the new thing. What is it? Period. Done. Clock it.
Clock it.
Oh, Jennifer's been out of the loop. This is the new cool thing.
Yeah.
Instead of clocks. Yeah, clock it, Dad. Period. So, Janet's doing it. That's awesome. Well, Dad just rolled out the red carpet for us to wrap this up very, very well. So we hope that you guys have all found this to be helpful. Be sure to check in with us on our next episodes. It sounds like we already have some topics that are lingering, and certainly we'll be talking about how to set up for success in 2026. So till we see each other again, be safe, be kind to yourselves, and be kind to each other. See you in the next episode.